Hello and welcome to Case Closed. I'm your host, Charlie Langton. Today we'll go inside an actual courtroom in the Warren District Court and see real small claims cases in action. Under Michigan law, small claims cases may be brought by individuals seeking $3,000 in damages or less. Neither side may be represented by an attorney, and the judge's decision is final. Now, let's take a look at the case of just the tax, ma'am.
Please have district courts in session. Judge Schmer presiding. Please remove your hats and shut off your cell phones.
Let's start with your claim first, Mr. Taylor. This was your case that started this whole thing. What are you asking for?
We're asking for unpaid accounting fees of $500 plus costs.
Accounting fees, okay. Legal fees to accounting fees. This must be the day for that. Well, what type of accounting services did you provide for Mr. and Mrs. Gates?
On or about January of 2004, we were engaged to file and prepare 3 corporate tax returns for the years 2001, 2002, and 2003.
Okay.
They hadn't filed for a couple of years, so we were engaged to prepare 3 corporate filings as well as their personal tax filings, again for 2001, 2002, and 2003.
Okay. These are joint returns for the personal filings?
Personal joint returns.
Okay.
Plus a corporate tax return.
Okay, 6 returns.
6 returns. We performed that work in the beginning of 2004 and completed in May of 2004. All returns were delivered to the client. They were invoiced sometime thereafter, within 30 to 60 days afterwards, after the completion of the work. And we never received payment for $500 of those fees. It was a kind of a drawn-out process in collecting most of the money. In March or April of 2005, we got one of our statements back that said they had held back $500 because there was a tax notice they received on the 2001 filing, and I assume they or somebody for them has determined that it was an incorrect filing of some sort, and so they were holding back payment because we had prepared an incorrect return, at which time, and all along during this process, we were asking for any reason why they weren't paying. When we got this as the reason that there was something, a tax notice, we said we will take care of the notice. If there's been any mistakes on our part, we will correct them, but we have to see the notice, and we will, if it's our fault, we will correct it. We were never given that opportunity. Sometime later, we did get a copy of the tax notice that they received and determined that we had correctly prepared the tax return, that the IRS was in error. Some income that was picked up on the corporate, properly picked up on the corporate tax return, somebody had issued a 1099 in their personal Social Security number. We knew this at the time of the filing, so on their personal tax return that we prepared, the 1099 that we knew was in error for some $1,975, I believe. We picked up on their personal tax return as an in and out sort of thing, so the IRS could follow it, see that we picked the money up, we took it out, and we showed them that it was picked up on their corporate tax filings.
So this was corporate income properly?
It was properly corporate income. Somebody erroneously filed a 1099 in their personal name rather than in their corporate name.
I see.
So we anticipated that because we had a copy of the 1099 before the filing. So we anticipated that, and we had the in and the out on their 1040 so the IRS could follow that. And we label it where the income is picked up on the corporate tax return. So on their personal tax filing, we were aware of that, and we handled that.
And surprise,
so
surprise, surprise, the IRS didn't quite follow
They didn't
it.
quite follow the bouncing ball, but we were only made aware of this close to a year after we had originally invoiced. for the work, for the 3 years' worth of work, and we were never given an opportunity to fix it, and this was the claim from the client as to why they were not paying us. This was the only reason, the only tax notice that we ever saw, and they had said that they went somewhere else and said it had to be redone. I do close to 2,000 tax returns a year out of this office, and I've been doing this for 20 years. We never redo a tax return. If there's a correction to be made, it's corrected. It's not.
What was the total amount for all of these returns that you billed for?
We billed approximately $500 a year. They were fairly simple corporate tax returns, $500 a year for the corporation tax return, $220 for each of the personal tax return a year. There were some miscellaneous other charges connected with the corporate bookkeeping, but it was modest. It was under a couple $100 a year.
So, a little over 2,000 you billed for the whole thing? 2,500 somewhere in there?
Well, yes, between $2,000 and $2,500 approximately.
Okay, you got paid all of it but 500.
Everything was paid but the 500.
Whew, this case seems a little boring. But what I really think is going on here is that the plaintiff wants to be paid for the work he did. He doesn't care that the IRS made him do some more work. Let's see what the defendant says.
Well, Mr. and Mrs. Gates, which one of you want to speak?
I will.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, we hired Helber Klein to do our taxes. We all agree on what they said. I brought them in at the end of December. I had my last pay stub with me.
You went end of December last year?
Between Christmas and...
2003.
Oh, okay. Okay, all right.
I had all of my information with me. They told us that we would have it the end of January. The only thing that would hold them up was if I did not get my W-2 to them in a timely manner.
Okay.
We ended up getting our tax return on May 4th of '05. That was after numerous telephone calls, unanswered telephone calls by their offices. I finally had to go to another office, to somebody who I had worked with in the past, to get my taxes done. I had to file an extension. They charged me for that extension, which they later took off the tax bill. They did our taxes. This is the tax return. They did our taxes in error. We received a letter from the IRS stating that they did not claim the $1,975. I have the letter from the Internal Revenue Service. I did not go back to them because I had so much problems with them.
You lost faith and confidence in them, right?
They promised me a service.
Phrase of the day, right?
They promised me a service.
That's what happened, though, right? You lost faith and confidence in them.
Yes.
Well, they didn't do their
Your
job,
husband says yes. Is
so
that right?
then I guess the answer is yes.
Okay.
They gave us, when I met with them, we gave them this form. It's all the income for the corporate. On the bottom here, you'll see the amount. It says from Oakwood, the $1,975 that was in question. The accountant took this as the income for the taxes. That's their writing. We told them that we wanted it in the corporate tax. They put it in the personal tax. They did not itemize it. It was not easy in and out, as he's stating. The IRS could not find it. We wrote a letter to the IRS requesting that we amend it. They told us that it had to be redone. They would not accept an amendment. They would not accept a notice. They would only accept somebody to redo it. So we had them redone.